Hello, this is Michael Wojcik with a special edition Rochester City Council update. Today we're going to talk about broadband. I know when this pops up, some of you are probably hoping I'm going to be talking about another topic. Trust me, it's coming. But we're going to talk about broadband today, and basically I'm going to tell you top 10 things you should maybe know about broadband in the community or that you might find interesting. And first of all, the current system fails. It is essentially a monopoly. We don't have a competitive marketplace in town. The FCC says broadband has to be 25 down, 3 up, megabit speed. What we can get in most places in Rochester from Charter is basically a 60 down, 4 up for about $60. Not competitive price, not competitive speeds. The upload speed is absolutely terrible, and good luck trying to get more than that. And the customer service is iffy at best. Number 9, smart cities need broadband. Smart cities need a smart grid. Smart cities need to be able to get information from one place to the next. And if we're truly going to take on some of the energy and climate challenges that we're facing, we need good ways of communicating with those loads that are consuming power. There is perhaps nothing that works quite as effectively as smart technology, smart communications. And while technology is always changing, we understand that the glass fiber that we put in the ground is going to stand the test of time. It has for decades. We can change the technology on the ends, but we know this is a good technology to use. Number 8, referendum sabotage, referendum opportunity. There's some folks pushing some special interests. I think you have a pretty good idea who they are in this community, and they're going to throw all the spaghetti they can against the wall and see what's going to stick. One of the things they're trying to say is somehow because we have to use a referendum that's aimed at telephone companies if we deliver just broadband. One, that's completely ridiculous. But 2, I'm not afraid of a referendum. If we were to do a referendum on broadband and it was a 50-50 referendum, I have no doubt that the public would choose to go forward with a municipal broadband system. The benefits are great, and the status quo is just completely unacceptable in most people's eyes. So while some people are trying to use a 2/3 referendum to try and sabotage this, that's not the case. That's not required. But if the council fails to act on broadband, we the people actually have the opportunity to amend the city charter on ourselves, and we can actually create a broadband utility at RPU by changing the charter if the city council is unwilling to act. At this point, I think there's enough folks on the city council as this data comes in and it looks very compelling that we won't need to go that route. But the people of Rochester do always have the opportunity to amend the charter. That's one of the great things about being a charter city. And don't bother looking for the Charter Commission to do anything, because I haven't seen them do anything in 8 years other than cleaning up a little bit of wording, so I wouldn't hold my breath that they're going to be doing anything. But there is a process for amending the charter. Number 7, there are some staff members who desperately don't want this, and I think there's a lot of people doing due diligence, and I think a lot of people see the importance, but particularly the city administrator's office is viciously and vehemently against broadband. I got some notes from some people who attended the committee of the whole meeting, and they couldn't believe the city administrator, Stephen Quenvald's comments. And I'd say both with the city administrator and the assistant city administrator realize they're going to do everything in their power to try and stop this. It was kind of funny seeing the side conversations back and forth and everyone getting their messages together before the meeting. Staff actually wouldn't allow the council to see the presentation materials on this before the meeting. That's how tightly they're trying to control this message. They went so far as to say that our ability to do bonding for a broadband proposal like this would threaten our ability to do police precincts. Nothing like throwing public safety in there to scare people away from broadband. This has been going on for a long time. These are the folks that have essentially put the charter monopoly in place today. They're very good with a lot of things, but on this issue they are not, and it's going to take leadership from the council, because we're not getting leadership from administration to make broadband go forward. Number 6, a lot of talk about this being a municipal broadband network, but I, for one, would be very open to public-private partnerships. There's a lot of great ways to do this. My goal is to get world-class, affordable broadband for the people of Rochester. We do not have that today, and we have no path to get there today. However, I would very much entertain working with a private partner, perhaps using our bonding capacity, to create a municipal fiber network in town. Now, to protect the taxpayers, what we'd always want to do is make sure that we have the opportunity to provide service if the private sector fails to deliver it. And for benchmarks, we can say that, you know what, Longmont, Colorado, who's gone down this route, you can get a gig for about 1 gig bidirectional for $50 or $60. If we use that as our metric here, if the private sector was willing to deliver that with a fiber to the home network, hey, we don't need to be having this conversation. But the reality is we're getting mediocre technology from one company. A few other companies are picking and cherry picking some accounts and doing some more stuff here. Most people in Rochester can get broadband from only one company. We can do better, and I'm supportive of doing better. Next up, number 5, an intranet. That's kind of like the internet, but what it is kind of like an internal network. And why this is so important is we have so many low-income families out there. If you think about our school system, 40% of the kids in our schools are on free and reduced lunch. Sadly, a lot of those kids in our community, they take backpacks of food home on the weekends so they don't starve. You know what? These families aren't paying the charter ransom price of $720 a year to get broadband so they can use their technology and do the communications, the video back and forth, getting access to the services that make education work. An intranet is a way that perhaps even those people that didn't have the financial wherewithal to purchase internet services or video services or anything else might still have access to public information via an intranet. What this means is we could take the resources of the Rochester Public Library and bring them into the home of every child in the community. Is that powerful for the future of our community and our workforce? You better believe it is. Right now, we're completely ignoring these kids. We're ignoring the technology needs, and that's really sad. Furthermore, we could take other things. All of the public meetings, public documents, civic music events, anything from the public resources that would be available for the people, not just the city, but the county and the schools as well. We could provide that through an intranet that would essentially be available to everybody, even if they couldn't afford the full internet services. Number 4, $4.27. So what I did is I have a little model that I've set up, and I'm running different numbers, but right now the most recent number I think I've seen is 57 million. I'm trying to get the financial model and the report from RPU to see where this stuff actually falls. Why $4.27? Well, if you assume about 44,000 households and businesses, which is the number that we were given, but I think that's quite low, and assume it's going to grow at about that's going to grow about 2.3% per year with inflation, and then there's going to be some household growth on top of that, and we're bonding for 20 years. If this thing went belly up, we built it, and it never made a penny, and it just sat there, how much would it be out? Well, the first year we'd be out about $4.27 per paying account. But it's not going to go belly up. It's going to be tremendously successful. And I suspect that all of the capital costs will be recovered through the basic services that are offered. That's what similar communities have seen. Sure, there's going to be the opportunity for competitors to price gouge, but you know what? If we're obligated to pay the $4.27 a month and your charter bill goes down $25 a month, are we really losing in that situation? I don't think so. So I think it's important to realize that 57 million could be an overwhelming number, but that 57 million would translate to $4.27 a month. That's a real opportunity. Number 3, we have a model that works. Alcatel-Lucent came in and said, hey, this is a no-brainer for you guys. You have a great financial model. Here's what your cash flow is going to be. Here's going to be your payback. And we said, you know, that's great. You're a nice third party on you're a nice person trying to sell us some stuff, but we want an independent third party to look at us. So we contacted the RPU board, and they hired Burns & Mac, a company that we work with quite frequently. We dug into their model, and we found some issues, and we fixed some things, and we put some things in, we took some things out, we moved some assumptions around, and what do we come up with? Our numbers look pretty similar to their numbers, and their numbers were fantastic, and our numbers are solid too. What does that mean? We have a viable financial model assuming the numbers. Now, assuming the numbers that we put in are correct is important because we're assuming pretty conservative numbers. We're assuming only 30% people taking services from the city of Rochester. Longmont, Colorado is at about 49% right now. And we're also assuming some different pricing structures, and we'd have to check that out. How do we make sure that these numbers are correct? Well, basically, we do a market study. And that market study can reveal it, and that's hopefully one of the next steps that we're going to do is we're going to do a market study to make sure that our assumptions are correct. Because you know what? If those assumptions are correct, or if they're overly conservative, which is what I believe, we have a fantastic business case to proceed with this. Number 2, as John Hunsinger would say, the only skill you need to be an elected official in the city of Rochester is you have to be able to count to 4. You need 4 elected officials with courage. And this is going to take a lot of courage to do. So who do we have? Well, I think that Councilmember Means, myself, and Councilmember Campion, we see the need, we see the benefit, we see the importance. We see broadband as being the 21st century utility. The Marks, Councilmember Bilderbeck and Councilmember Hickey, I think are asking some very good questions, and I think we've given them some very compelling answers, in particular, very good comparison to the city of Rochester. I believe that potentially we could have 5 votes. The remaining 2, Councilmember Ruska, never going to support this in a million years. Totally get that. He's made the comment that we have like a dozen broadband providers, which is just totally false. You might be able to find internet from a few different places, but typically the only one citywide that even qualifies as broadband is Charter. That's why we get gouged. And President Staver, who's softened his tone recently, but did say in the past that he just doesn't see internet as being as important as other utilities. I just disagree with that on principle. So basically, we've got elections coming up in November, and we may have 4 or 5 votes now, possibly 6 if the weather is right. But you can make sure that you have 4 people that'll stand up to the cronyism in this community and do what's right for this community. And this is a fantastic opportunity for the community. So you can straight out ask your elected officials or the people asking for the vote, do they support broadband? Do they support a municipal broadband option? If they don't, just realize that you're taking away the opportunity to have this great thing. And, and I should point out too, there's going to be some more discussion coming up about this little, the dark money pact that Patrick Sexton and some others were involved in. According to Med City Beat, that would be John Wade, attorneys from Dunlap and Seeger, and Andy Schifolius as well. These folks, one of the things I want to assure you that the good old boys who want to manipulate local elections for their own personal benefit, and I think that is a perfect description for this group of people. One thing they absolutely cannot stand is taking out the charter monopoly, bringing in a public municipal broadband option. So that dark money, that's one of the issues that I'm sure they're quite passionate about. Lastly, number 1, broadband is important. It's important to our future. It's important to our businesses. It's important for the doctor who wants to telecommute and has to send large files back and forth because he can't do that with a 4 meg upload speed. You cannot attract young talent with the mediocre broadband that we have. This is really important for the future of our community. And it's going to take some leadership to get this done. I wish the public sector was taking care of this. I wish I had fiber to my home for $50, just like Longmont, Colorado. But I don't. So we're going to be taking a look at this Longmont, Colorado model because it served them so well. Even the skeptics acknowledge they love the system. It's been fantastic for their community. It's been fantastic for talent attraction. It's been fantastic for local businesses. And we know that people want it here. We know people see the value. RPU did a scientific survey, and we found out 80% of the people wanted RPU to investigate broadband. And of course, when we found out there's a business case, that means they want us to do broadband. But if you break it down more, the millennials wanted it 90% or so, and as you got older, it got to be a little bit less, but everyone wanted it. Even businesses want it. We can do this, Rochester. Broadband is coming. We can do municipal broadband. I just need you to stand up and be part of the solution.